by autorestorationvideos.com. All rights reserved. We're located at 1607 Pine Ridge, Bushkill, Pennsylvania. Zip is 18324. Phone number is 570-588-0969. Any unlawful duplication or rentals of this video will result in the full prosecution of the law. And I mean it. Hi. In this video, we're going to record, well, we're not going to record nothing, but I'm going to show you how to install your own upholstery kit. Okay? Now, I'm not talking about one of these that you get and you just pull over like a slip cover. No. We're not talking about that. We're talking about the ones where you have to remove all the covers and everything from your seats and start from new. That's the ones I'm talking about. Alright? This is like the real thing. Alright? This is if you really don't want to hire an upholsterer. You just want to send away for one of these kits yourself. A lot of these people make these kits for GM. It's like year one. And then there's Legendary Auto Interiors, and they're like Chrysler products. And then for Ford products, you have LeBaron and Bonney. And there's other ones too, but just to give you an idea, you know, where people make this stuff. Now, the first thing before you get started here is you have to disassemble all your seats. Alright? Now you're going to say, well, how do you disassemble them, you know? Most of the time they're all held together by hog rings. Alright, now there might be some cotter pins in there, might be a couple nuts and bolts to take off. It depends upon your car, what year it is and everything like that. But your basic equipment now, your basic tools that you're going to need, let me show you. You're going to need yourself a vice grip. You should get a couple of these. You need yourself a regular slot head Yankee screwdriver and one of these butt clipper pliers or end clippers or whatever you call them. They're like round on the top, not one of those hexagonal ones, you know, diagonals. You need one of these, a good one. Don't get this stuff made in China. This stuff stinks. Then you're going to need yourself an awl or an ice pick. Make sure it's strong steel. You should get yourself one of these little mini clippers, okay? They cut right through hog rings, and they're great. You can also struggle with one of these here. One of these cutting pliers. You can grab the end of it, and you know you can bend them around. And then when you stick your screwdriver in, you know you can pry it, and you can bend that hog ring around. You can do it that way too. But if you can find one of these are great. These are great. These are made out of hard steel tips. And eventually you are going to need a hog ring pliers. Now these come in straight and they come in curved. I don't know which one's better. It depends upon the situation. Sometimes you got to get under something and you got to go straight in. Then you need those straight ones because you can't really go straight with this because you'll see once you get going. And of course you should have yourself an old trusty wire brush. Now after you take your covers off, what you want to do is you want to mark where they go. Like say front backrest, front left backrest, front right backrest. That's if you know you have two separate sections that go up and down, like in a two-door car. You want to mark that. Then you have front bottom cushion. You just put F, B, C. Then you have the rear bottom cushion and the rear backrest. Alright? You want to write that on there, so sometimes you might get confused, grab the wrong one by accident, and you don't want to screw up with that, okay? So, now, after you get all your covers removed and you get all that stuff out, if you're going to do it right, if you have a car that's like 25, 35 years old, you probably have one big piece of rust, alright? So, you're going to have to get that thing glass beaded, take it somewhere, so like an auto restoration shop, or get your own glass beater, or get yourself a sandblaster. Okay, now they have these little sandblasters you can get like from Harbor Freight or somebody like that, like a 40-pound sand thing. But then you're going to need a compressor too. And now if you don't want to go into that, because then that's really getting into restoration stuff, what you can do is just get some rust remover. You know, paint the whole thing with like rust remover and everything. And then, you know, hose it off. And then you can even get yourself some navel jelly. That stuff's not too bad either. But that's like the real time-consuming way to do it too. Now, there's some places around, I live in PA, but there's one place down around Allentown. This place is called Ready Strip. They got big tanks of acid, all right? You can actually bring your whole car down there, and they pick up your whole car and just dip it right in. All right? You want to know what the size of the tank is? You get a big box car, and they cut out the top of the box car. I'm not kidding. And they fill the whole thing with acid. Then they just dip your whole car in, and they let it sit there for a couple hours. Then they just pull the thing out, and then they put it into another tank that kind of neutralizes the acid and everything. All right? Then they put it into clean water. All right? Then they give you back the car. All right? Now, the thing is, when you do a whole car like that, you don't have much time before you got to hurry up and get primer now. She's going to start to rust on you. Well, it's the same thing with seats. You could bring your seats over there and drop them off and come back in a day or two, and all your seats are going to be stripped down and all the rust and everything will be gone. Now, that's the best way to do it. Take it to like one of those stripper places over there. All right? If you don't want to, you know, if you're not really doing this like as a profession, that would be your best bet. Or, like I say, get your old wire brush out and just go crazy and do it to it. You should always scuff that. If you're going to do it yourself, you should always go over the whole thing with the wire brush first if you got rust on there. So you loosen up that rust. So when you put your your rust remover on there, it'll have something to really, bite into. All right? So you can do it that way too. But any way you look at it, you're going to have to get these things, get all the rust off them. And then after you get all the rust off them, and they're all dry and everything, then you can get yourself some cans of like cheap enamel red prime, all right, that you can go into like Walmart or something. Get some of that cheap red prime and spray your whole seat with it. It's like an enamel prime, all right? Then let it dry up. Then get yourself some of that cheap enamel spray paint. Okay, like 99 cents a can. Get the gloss. Gloss looks good. Or get the semi-gloss, but don't get flat. Flat won't look good. I would stick with the gloss. And spray your whole seat with the cans. Alright? Now, if you want to go ahead and use a big spray gun, then you're going to have to get a compressor and all that stuff. Maybe you want to rent it for a day. You can do that too, but it's going to be, believe it or not, it's going to be more expensive. Of course, that black, I think a gallon of black now probably costs you $60, $75 or something like that. Even though you don't need the gallon, you could probably do this whole thing with like maybe a quart or 2 quarts or something. If you're going to buy 2 quarts, you might as well get the gallon. See what I'm saying here? And then you could do it in flash. You got a big spray gun. That would be the ideal way. All right? A lot of people don't want to go through the expense of getting a compressor and getting, a $200 spray gun and buying the hose and all that stuff when you're only going to do this one shot. That's the whole idea of this video, is to tell you how you can put do an upholstery kit yourself, by yourself. Not, going around doing this stuff in, other places. All right? So, we're going to take it from there. We're going to take it now that you got all your stuff all cleaned and painted like you're ready to go. What are you going to do? What do you have to look for? All right? Hopefully you have ordered your kit from a reliable place. I put quotes around that because I don't trust anybody to do kits. All right? What can I say? But once you get your whole seat done, and it's looking like this, all black and shiny, then you're ready to start. Now, the first thing you want to do, you want to check all your end clips, alright? Make sure none of them are rusted off. Make sure you're not missing any. If you're missing any, you have to replace them. Alright, now you can get them online. And also, if you have any of these springs here that are broken, they're going to have to be replaced. Alright? Now you can get some like a welding rod, but I take that back. You don't want to use a welding rod. It's going to bend and it's going to stay bent. You got to get spring steel. This whole thing is spring. Everything on here is spring steel. So when you go against it, she'll spring back. All right. Now I use a thicker spring steel around the border than they use for here. Now most of the time, you can get this stuff in coils from most furniture supply places. This is called sine wave spring. Alright, it comes in a big coil, and this is like a medium gauge, I guess you call it. And this one here is like a heavy gauge. Alright, now these unroll at about 25-30 feet on each roll. Now, the only way to really cut that stuff easily is with a bolt cutter. That is spring steel. Now you can get a smaller one than this and still cut it. But I wouldn't. Of course, this really makes it pretty easy. You want to really push on it with your hand and do a lot of work. Get a smaller one. But this, I'd say, is the smallest one you'd want to get to cut it in flash. All right. If you want to play around with the little ones, you can go ahead. If you think you're going to cut that with a regular cutting pliers, lots of luck. It'll be like trying to cut a bolt almost. That's why I suggest getting yourself a bolt cutters. Now, when you go to put that in, put that spring in, you're going to need something called a B&W clip. This is what a B&W clip looks like. Okay? Now the better ones, they have a little piece of paper on the inside. So they kind of have less of a tendency to spin around once you put them on. And sometimes, you might think they're tight, but when you sit on the seat a couple times, these will loosen up because they have a tendency to slip first, then they start to loosen up. Alright? So get yourself a box of these B&W clips. They come in like 100 in a box. But if you're going to buy like maybe even half of the box, you'd be cheaper to buy the whole box. I think it's like, I don't know, I would say $7-8 or something maybe for this. I don't know, they might have went up since I got these. But you're going to need them. And to put those on, you're going to use a hog ring pliers. Alright? So you just cut that spring to length to the same one that you took off there. And use your B&W clip to hook it on with. Alright? Then once you get the whole seat like ready to go, then you can go on to the next phase. You want to make sure nothing's broken. If anything's broken, you probably have to take it someplace, like the frame itself, take it someplace to somebody who does welding. Or if you want to do it yourself, get yourself a little or a TIG welder. But the whole idea of this video is to show you that you could probably do this yourself if you really wanted to. Just like farming out little things like that. Okay, if you have 1 or 2 breaks in the seat